Alright, so what is up guys? In the previous session we learned about what is a MoveTo function and we learned how to implement the MoveTo function into our dummy. But one problem which arose during the video was that what if the dummy was in some kind of a maze where the path was not in a straight line, where the path could not be accessed or moved through a straight line. So as you can see in this studio, I've created like some kind of a cage with paths, and in the sides of the cage there's a part which is a little bit elevated from the ground. So what I'm trying to say is that with if you use a MoveTo function here for this dummy, it will just go through this like in a straight line. So basically what the MoveTo function it does is that it just finds the shortest path or the displacement, or like a straight line from the source to the destination, and the destination here is a target, and it's just a normal path which I've named it as target. And tell the dummy, like make the dummy smart, that the dummy can just go like here from down here and then jump over this and then go to the pod or the target here. So in order to do that, we'll be using a service called as PathFindingService. And what this PathFindingService, with the name itself you can determine what it does is it finds the path, and it's a service, yeah, obviously. So in order to implement this PathFindingService, by the way, using this PathFindingService, you can make the dummy really smart. You can make him so smart that if I put the target like on top of here, and if I put a ladder here, you can tell the dummy, like the dummy has to climb the ladder and then go to the target here. So you can make him that smart. All right, so in order to use the service, what you have to keep in mind is that there are 5 functions, and whenever you're using this PathFindingService, you always and must need to use these 5 functions. So the first function is create path, second one is compute async, get waypoints, MoveTo, and MoveTo finish. Wait, yeah, whatever that is. So here you might be having a doubt is why are we using MoveTo? So basically the reason why we're using MoveTo here in the PathFindingService is that make some dots like waypoints. So one waypoint here, second one here, second one, third one here, fourth one here. So what the dummy will do is that using the MoveTo function, it will just go from first waypoint to second waypoint, and then the third waypoint, and then the fourth waypoint. So in order to do that, I'll be just writing a small script here. Alright, so as you can see here, I've created a really small script using the PathFindingService, and I've created a variable called PathFindingService and use the data or assign the data game get service PathFindingService. So what this PathFindingService is, first thing you got to do is, as you can see, I've mentioned here, create path. So what create path does is that it allows you to toggle or set certain properties of the dummy. Like if you want the dummy to swim, or can he climb, or like how high can he jump, or like what is the height of the dummy, whatever. So those things you can set it in this create path. So you got to put like local path, you got to assign the data first, the variable local path equals PathFindingService create path, and then whatever you want to put. So here what I've done is I've put agent radius equals to 2, agent can climb, true, agent height is 5, agent can jump, true. So this is basically the properties that you're assigning to the target that he can do. So these things you cannot assign before or manually, you just got to do it using the script. And then using this variable, what we're going to do is that we'll be using this variable everywhere. So throughout the entire script, we're going to be using the path, because these are basically the properties that we have already assigned. So you can think it of as the tween service, tweeninfo.new, where you put it in the middle, and then let me just type it out, tweeninfo.new. So whatever this tween.info.new is, tweeninfo.new is, so it tells the properties, or you can change the type of tween you want it to do. So the same way for the PathFindingService, what we can do is we can use a create path, and in the create path we can put the properties of the dummy such as can jump and whatever. The next thing we got to do is compute async. So what compute async does is that it tells the difference between one position to another position, and it basically traces out a rough direction or a path from the source, which is the dummy, to the target destination, which is the target path. Part. Yeah. So path computer async dummy.humanoid.path.position, comma target.position. So if you don't do this and you just skip this, basically the script will not understand that the target is placed over here. So you have to like tell the script that the path is here and you want the dummy to move from like this to here. You need to use the computer async, otherwise the script will not understand that. And the third thing, what you got to do is get waypoints. All right, so what get waypoints does is that from the name itself, you can tell what it does. It gets all the waypoints. So what this computer async does is it tells all the waypoints from here, like first waypoint, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, eight, whatever. So it tells like n number of waypoints from the dummy to the target destination. That's what computer async does. And in order to get all those waypoints, we need to use the function called as get waypoints, path get waypoints. So keep in mind that in this entire script, whatever this variable we have declared here, which is path, we are using that to use a computer async, get waypoints, etc. And the next, what we are doing is, as I've told you in the starting of the video, that we'll be using the MoveTo function, but what we'll be doing is we'll be using a for loop. So what basically we are doing here is that we are telling the dummy to move from first waypoint to second waypoint and then third waypoint to fourth waypoint. So keep in mind that there's not much difference between the distance from first waypoint to the second one. So the first waypoint can be like right here and the second one can be right here. So that's why we need to get all the waypoints and run a for loop for I, waypoint in pairs waypoints. So I is the index of the waypoint, and waypoint is basically the waypoint or the instance that has been created using the get waypoints. So using this waypoint, we'll be just telling the dummy.humanoid move to waypoint.position. This waypoint, you can think it as an instance. It's not really an instance, but you can just think that the script has made a lot of circles here to depict the path between dummy and the target. So in order to get those circles, we'll be using a for loop and telling the dummy to move to that circle.position. And we'll be using .move to finish wait. The reason why we're using move to finish wait is because if you don't write this move to finish, and if I have to run this, you can see here that the dummy just goes like a straight line, like just how a normal move to function works. So the reason why we're using this is because we need to tell the script to wait for the dummy to finish moving from first waypoint to the second waypoint. So once the script understands that the dummy has already reached the second waypoint, then it can move to the third one and then the fourth one and so on. So that's why we're using move to finished wait. And the last line here, what I've written is waypoint.action equals to enum.pathway point action.jump. So basically what I'm trying to tell the script here is that if the action of the waypoint, by the way, waypoint has a property called action. So for each waypoint, let's say there's a waypoint here in this dot and then another waypoint here. So this waypoint action will have is jump. So it will have the waypoint action equals to jump, and if it's equals to, then dummy.humanoid.jump equals to true. So basically if I have to run this, it will go like this, and then action equals to jump. That's why it will jump here and then go here. I think it will jump again. Yeah, so as you can see, it jumped here for no reason. In order to stop that kind of an issue or error, what we can do here is we can just create another variable called previous height. Okay, so alright, so I made a small change to my script, which is declared two variables, which is previous height and required height. Previous height is basically waypoints I-1, and by the way, waypoints is an array, so we can get the previous waypoint. Basically what waypoint looks like is like this, and waypoint 1, waypoint 2, something like this, which is waypoints I-1. It gets the previous waypoint. I need to change this to previous waypoint. So you guys, here I've created another variable called RequiredHeight equals to previous waypoint and math.adds waypoint.position.y, whatever. So here what I've done is that this is a short form of writing a conditional statement. What it basically does is that it checks if previous waypoint exists. So if it's not like nil, like if the waypoint is not, this can be one, okay, it can be the initial or the starting waypoint, which is right here. So it can be that. If it's that, if the waypoint is that, the starting waypoint, then previous waypoint will be null or nil. So in order to, like, not have any error or whatsoever, that's why we are checking that previous waypoint exists and it's not nil. So if it exists, then we do math.abstract, I think it's called abstract, if I'm not wrong, absolute, yeah, absolute value of x. Basically what it's doing is that it's just rounding off the value, which is waypoint.position.y minus previous waypoint.position.y. So this is the current waypoint and this is the previous waypoint. We're just subtracting the y-axis and storing it into the required height. But if previous waypoint is nil, then we store 0, okay, and then we just put a condition here, which is and required height greater than 2. If I were to run this, the dummy will move like this, it will jump over here, and then it will just go straight. It will not even jump here. Yep, so it doesn't jump over here, so it just goes there and stays there. And yes, after the function, the user-defined function, I've called it and put workspace.target. So this was basically all about the pathfinding service. And by the way guys, I've been posting a lot of questions in every single video, the comment section. So once you have completed any video, you can just go to the comment section and check out the questions that I've made. Those are really basic questions, and for the answers you can find them in the video. And if you just click on read more and you scroll down more, you can see the the answers for each question, but you gotta scroll really down, so that's why. And yeah, kindly comment on the doubts, queries or whatsoever. Until then, stay safe. Bye bye.